Good morning, Shalom Aleichem to everybody. Welcome to the Chevra Online. Baruch Hashem, welcome to the Chevra Online, and welcome to the beautiful people in person. And Chazdei Hashem, we have once again an opportunity to, it's okay, you can walk, it's this way, the camera's this way. We have an opportunity to hopefully to connect, to be here, to be present, and to work on ourselves a little bit with critical thinking, just thinking deeper and taking this opportunity to look maybe bigger. I just want to, number one, thank Akar Satov to the individual who sponsored this whole set of shiurim, this whole series. And Mamish Meha Bracha, Mazel and Hatzlacha. And thank you. And I get messages in from people. I don't expect messages. I do this really because I was told to do it, obedience. So thank you to Rabbi Ari Matisyahu who pushed for this. Thank you, and thank you to my advisors, the Heilige Schulmans and Rabbi Gerzi, the advisors who as well push for this. And that's why we're doing this. I just want to iterate that, Akar Satov to them. And thank you.
You mean you don't really want to be doing this?
Sometimes. No, but Baruch Hashem. And it's people like that as well, who have tremendous Akar Satov. This individual that just blurted out now, he paid for the new printings of The Journey Begins and The Awakening. He gave money and he says, no strings attached, this is for the printing of the books, do what you want with it. But he wanted to have Chayme and Chazdei Hashem, just Akar Satov. And the Nakuda is, we should do this together. We and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have the most unbelievable opportunity right now where we can shift into our next phase of evolution. We're getting close to the year 6000. And there's I feel a certain intensity. I feel a certain intensity over the last year and a bit. For the last year and a bit, I'm mamish. I think for those who know me, there's definitely an intensity that's increased where I'm mamish thinking, how can we better our situation? How can we better our lives? And I'm still there at the moment. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps me in this state. And as well, production, the tzaddikim, three tzaddikim last year or the year before, they said that this year is a year where there's a certain bracha that's opened up, and they weren't kidding. In a short amount of time, we've edited probably about now close to 30 works, and hopefully the works are helpful to upgrade our lives. Now the second shift is final editing, but the Nakuda is everything that we're doing in our organization, everything we're doing is simply, it's not complex. It really isn't complex. And this was the charge of the Biala Rebbe Shlita, or Zichron Livracha. It's to make people's lives better. First stage, make people's lives better. We have to live healthy, we have to live happy, and mamash a kedushdika life, a holy life. And we have all of the resources in front of us, we have all of the knowledge in front of us, and it's up to us. What does that mean? We have to be the hero of our own story. I remember one of my teachers, Rabbi Yosef Meir Weingot, he used to say, when you're makashi yourself to the tzaddikim, especially by Rabbi Nachman, you say, Harei ani mekasher, you say, Hareini mekasher es atzmi. And if the atzmi isn't there, if you are not there, you can't makashi yourself. And we know by Rabbi Nachman in a couple of places, some people find it strange, and I get it, they find it strange, where Rabbi Nachman says that even if he wasn't a great-grandchild of the Baal Shem Tov, he'll still be Rabbi Nachman. What's the sod here? The sod is and Rabbi Nosson says this, that Rabbi Nachman is saying this to give us allowance to find your tzaddik within. And this is something which we really need today. Because the geula, as we've said before, and we'll for sure go into this, but there's a geula atzmi, and that is when you can regain, when you could refine, when you could retether to soul, when you can reintegrate, then you have the ability to cultivate finding the tzaddik within. When you understand, as we've said before, the experience of being a human being is sometimes really challenging, but the architecture of the soul is easy. We can describe how we work. The real-time work it's an avodah, it's not easy. But the nakuda is, you have to want it. You have to want it. You have to be hungry. You have to be hungry. And we live in a generation where I observe at times people aren't hungry enough. And I'm not speaking about, I just said to Mr. Hornstein, I'm not speaking, he mentioned the people forecast. I'm not speaking about the forecasting of the redemption. I'm speaking about the ingredients needed. We're speaking about the ingredients needed. You have to be hungry. The Bale Avodah, people who really wanted growth, they were hungry for growth. They worked on themselves. What are you living for? Be hungry for growth. And in our little Daladamos, these two nakudas are very important nakudas. Number one, constantly to remember, be the hero of your story. Be the hero of your story. You are magical. You are magical. You have such kaiches. And the world is waiting for you to share your kaiches. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we said, based on Chaya Sarah Kaf Dalad, that Avram Avinu said, until I came around, Hashem was not known. Hashem in the iteration of this world, Hashem in the iteration of the way this world has been created, needs you. Hashem needs you. Ein melech bli am. Ein melech bli am. Hashem needs you. And if you don't do your part, Hashem is less in our world. And Kaf Dalad, it's Befeirush, a Chumash, Rashi. But we have Ein Melech Bli Am, which is found in Tefillah. Yehei Shmei Rabbah. When one person is missing, Hashem's light is lesser in the world. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, may your light be great again. Because one person is missing. Doesn't matter who they are. A poshet, the most poshet, the poshet person that poshet can be. Yehei Shmei Rabbah. You matter. You are important. This is not gaiva. This is not gaiva. The reason why it's not gaiva, you are the merkava. You are the merkava to Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. Take your life seriously. I remember a conversation, I told over a story how Reb Mordechai Zuckerman, Zichron Livracha, somebody once said, can I go visit him? And we went a few times and he said, can I learn by you? So he said to him, as long as you know there's nothing nice here. What was he saying? He was saying, I'm not nice. I'm not nice. I'm not nice. I want the job done, and I'll be horrible to you. There's no chizuk. There's no being nice. Tachlis. Tachlis, tachlis. And if you can't put up with me not being nice, it's better that you don't come. That's what he said to him. What was he saying? Tachlis is, Reb Mordechai Zuckerman was a Bal Midas, but he said, like, yeah, as I get closer to the end of my life, I become more impatient. Like, Tachlis, come on. And I was by Reb Mordechai Zuckerman for a long time, and I mentioned it before, that's why it comes up. We're living in a time where we've had so many opportunities. And we've had opportunities like we have now. Baruch Shem, we've had a state before, we had a Beis HaMikdash, we had a state. Everything that we have in front of us is not new. People say it's new. It isn't new. We had people coming to Eretz Yisrael. Look in Tanakh. I think one of the major issues we don't learn Tanakh. Look at the stories of Tanakh. We've had everything that we have today. It's not new. It isn't new. Question is, are we going to waste it? Is it going to be Be'ito B'Achishena? We're coming to the 6,000th year. People say to me, but it's a chidush. It's like the people, it's a chidush what we have to. No, it isn't a chidush. Come on. It's not a chidush. It isn't a chidush. It's not a chidush. A lot of hakaras atov, but it's not a chidush. What's Hanukkah about? Same as today. Nothing is new. Like, just get into our heads. Nothing is new. This is like Reishis Smichas L'Gula Seinu. We're in the same boat as we have been for thousands of years. Ikvad de Mashiach is 2,000 years. It's been, if you want to call it Reishis Smichas L'Gula Seinu, it's Reishis Smichas L'Gula Seinu for 2,000 years. Like pshat. I'm not talking like politics. I'm talking Torah. Challenge me. For those, I'm saying now. We've been in the same. You look, times of Malachim Aleph, when, you look. We've had Baruch Hashem opportunities before. And whatever happened, we needed another stage of healing. So, and the question is now, what's our choice? And it's not what our choice is as a nation. We can use nation as a dugma. We could look outside in order to turn our gaze inside. The nakuda that we want really to understand, though, is that a national redemption, an international redemption, and a cosmic redemption needs at this point in time to start with who? You. That's it. You. And what are the ingredients? So by the tzaddikim they've passed down, whether it's who Baruch Shem tzaddikim who are still alive, who have kesher to the derech of the Nistarim, whether it's a Rav Alfasi, Rav Segal, whether it's a Rav Zaguri, whether it's a Rav Cohen, whoever it may be who's around today, and especially in the previous dairas, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Shapira, or it's a Rabbi Singer, Rabbi Yosef Singer, Rabbi Moshe Singer, Rabbi Perlstein, whatever it may be, whoever it comes from, it was the same typical ingredients. Whether it was a Yaakov Atzlam, whether it was a Rav Avram Chai, you met them, there were certain ingredients, and the ingredients, oddly enough, revolved around what we label today in our language, caring, sharing, supporting, and encouraging with good firm boundaries, and a whole lot of oneg and simcha. A whole lot of oneg and simcha. Why? Because that state is a higher vibrational frequency. Remember, we spoke about how ruchnius, so to speak, is coded as spirituality. But what is spirituality? So we have to try and create the language to communicate something that's odd a little bit. It's a little bit abstract. So one way of codification of this language we use is vibrational frequency. There's a lower vibrational frequency, there's a mid vibrational frequency, and there's a higher vibrational frequency. The highest vibrational frequency is Ava and Yira and Echad. They're the highest vibrational frequencies. And even within the higher vibrational frequencies, these midos, Echad is very abstract. Yira is a little bit less abstract. Why? Because Yira is awe. So I can identify in my life when I've experienced something which is awe-inspiring. When you see something, this is what the Rambam speaks about. Rambam speaks about this nakuda, awe. When your breath is taken away, you see something, you experience something, it's awe. It's bechin of das, you've pulled back. You're like, whoa. And then ava. Again, even ava is elusive. It's something that we can't necessarily speak to, but we could speak around it, which is odd. It's a universal regesh. It's something that we feel. We, so to speak, have the ingredients, how to deepen it, but nevertheless, it's a little bit odd. The analogy that we can share is that if you pick up a guitar, where's the music in the guitar? I could take the guitar and I could bash the guitar and break it open. Where's the music in the guitar? If I play the piano, where's the music in the piano? If I'm playing the drums, where's the music in the drums? You could break apart the instrument, you won't find the music. And the nakuda is, though, it's something universal. Ruchnius is something universal. And when we work on deliberately thinking, critically thinking, and sharing, it's about us together. It's not about the I, it's about the us. It's not about the me, it's about the we. When we could break through those klipos, and this is what we're doing here, then a magic can happen. A magic can happen, and we're roy for it. We really are roy for it. We've been through, Baruch Hashem, so much in our couple of thousand years of exile. We're roy for it. What's the next stage? The next stage, again, it may sound odd, but it's the self-belief in a healthy way, to be strong in who you are, to care, share, support, and encourage with good, healthy boundaries, to find your way to a state where you can go to sleep at night, you're working on projects, as Rabbi Singer would say, that a person should have 2 projects they're working on. 2 projects they're working on. That you find yourself, you can experience and you can express yourself. And to have the guidance in the derech of Avodah that we are sharing in this iteration. And again, I just want to remind us of something. One project could be giving a shiur on a Friday night in Or Yisrael. It's a project. You get it? That's a project. So to have projects, writing projects, singing, bringing people to whatever it is, have something that you've got your daily normal activities to fit into a society, to fit into a community, to support. But then you have to have something that shares of yourself in a deeper way. And what we're sharing here, and I just want to share this again. What we're sharing here, I believe, and I say this with hopefully a real humility that it's our inheritance, and it's a way to get to the next stage of our evolution. And why I'm saying this is because there's a shift that needs to be made, and it's the most difficult shift. It's the most difficult shift. And we are not going to go into it in depth. We're just going to glance through words on a page. And again, this iteration of what we're communicating here is not a chabura. It's not something we can sit on and dwell on it and ask questions and practice deeply listening to others, even if they go on for an hour and a half and you're bored senseless. It's part of Tikkun Amidos. And the Nakuda is that what we want is just to introduce here a Nakuda of reality, that we have the availability to shift to our next state of evolution, our spiritual evolution. We are evolving. And if we keep on doing more of the same, then we're only going to get the same outcome. And there's a shift that needs to occur. And this shift is probably one of the most difficult shifts, because you're dealing with beliefs. You're dealing with how fundamentally the human being works. And it's not easy. So for example, when I use the term that we have to be bigger than the noise, people hear me use this term, we have to be bigger than the noise. So the noise could even be Torah. The noise could be Torah. It could be there's two people and they haven't fully mataken their midos. And I'm speaking to myself here because for sure I haven't fully mataken my midos, and for sure, I try to do things just to remind me. I try to say things just to remind me that I'm not matuken yet. And people who are close to me know that. But you have metrics. How do you know that you're being mataken your midos? So number one is you can keep your mouth shut. When you do not have something smart to say, like be quiet. If you're putting somebody else down, and for sure you're using Torah to put somebody else down, be really careful. Maybe you're wrong, maybe they're right, maybe they are right, and maybe I think I just said that. Maybe you're right and they're wrong, or maybe they're wrong and you're right. Forget, I did it again. You know what I'm trying to say. And why is that? Because we've been in exile for such a long time. Like being in exile for such a long time, we pick up a cloudiness. We don't think so clearly. We've been led to believe certain nukudas of truths that really are not truths. So all you have is what? All you have is your daladamais. Your daladamais to be comfortable in your skin. I choose this. This is what I choose. And as long as you have, on a certain respect, you have a selach harav. And I remember one of my teachers, he is a Gera Chassid. He's an old man, lives in London, Rav Avram Maslow. So Rav Avram Maslow Shlita, he said something to me once very, very interesting. I remember when I was younger, I had the Kesher Baruch Shem, and he still, even though I'm not with him the whole time, and Baruch Shem, there's another chaver here who gets this. One of my teachers is Rabbi Shimon Morgenstern. And I'm not there all the time. I try to go on a Motzei Shabbos every couple of weeks, just to see his panim. I haven't spoken to him. Last time I spoke to him properly was a couple of years ago. And it's an amazing thing, because once upon a time, it was far easier to go. Once upon a time, a few years ago, I was in and out. It was far easier, and to sit and to talk, and especially when he came to London in the summer, Pesach time, it was far easier. And now it's far more difficult. And I remember sharing this burden with Rav Maslow. And he said to me something very interesting. He says that everyone should have, he heard this from the Beis Yisrael, everyone should have two rebbes. One Rebbe could be a godel, and it's not always easy to connect. But then you have another Rebbe who's a smaller Rebbe, a kleiner Rebbe. Somebody, a selach harav, and you need that in your life. And it's very true. Very, very, very true. So you need a selach harav. You need a selach harav, and you need good people around you. And the metrics of how well you are doing is really simple things. Again, everything I've said here is babyish. It's babyish. I'm not saying high ideas. I would say that the conversations that we are having here are mature conversations, and they're definitely not basic. It's not basic information. I would say that the language we're using is, for sure, I'm speaking to people who are more shomer Torah mitzvahs, and there's a certain sprach, a certain language we're using. When I speak in the academic world, or if I speak to secular audience, I use a different language. So for sure, right now here, we're speaking a certain language. And I get that. So aselach harav, you have to have aselach harav, and you have to have your friends around you. And a metric to know how well you are doing or not is rather simple. Again, I just want to iterate. I'm using language here. For anybody who's listening and you don't get all the language I'm saying, don't let that get in the way. Don't let the Hebrew words, the Lashon HaKodesh words get in the way. There are other videos that are going up, which is a simplified version of just the text that you'll get as well. It'll be on the YouTube in this, whatever it's, an audio format. But what do I want to share is that everything I'm sharing is babyish. It's like it's not brain science. What does that mean? It means that aselach harav, have friends around you. And how do you know you're growing? You could listen better. you can listen. One metric is, aselach harav. Do I have that? Another metric is friends around you. Another metric, third metric if we want to say, is how well can you keep quiet? How well can you keep quiet? And another metric, how well can you listen? How well can you listen? Another metric is how well can I hold the other person? So I can keep quiet and I can listen, but are there voices going on in my head? How well can I see you and hold you? Like, that's really important. These are very important metrics, and it's these metrics that will make the change. There are other personal metrics that we spoke about in terms of ruchnius. This is metrics for ruchnius, by the way. This is metrics for tikkun hamidais. So another metric, for example, for tikkun hamidais is if a person falls, how quickly can they come back to a state of centering? We know the Yetzer Hara wants to take a person down. So sometimes it's not the Aveira that is the issue. It's the aftermath of the Aveira that is the issue. A person falls and they let themselves down and they feel guilt and they feel shame. And what starts to happen is that when that happens, a person's led on a journey where it's so difficult to find their way back to orbit. So a state of spiritual maturity is how quickly can I come back to centering. And another state, which is again a more mature state, is how quickly can I say thank you? I may not like what I have gone through, but how quickly can I say thank you for what I went through? I don't like it. You don't have to like it. But you can say, Rabbeinu Shel Olam, you are the boss, and if that's what you wanted, B'Seider Gamor. I may not like it. Again, remember we spoke about Cheshbonus, that Moshe Rabbeinu, Bay El Paroi, Moshe Rabbeinu, the cruel God, the cruel God, so cruel. He tells Moshe Rabbeinu, go to Paro, and tell Paro, let my people go. But obviously HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very cruel, because he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are going to fail, I've hardened his heart. So you have to face your trials and tribulations, and you have to face your greatest fear, Paro. So people turn around and say such a thing. Hashem is cruel, look what he did. And then they say about this and this and this, other points in Tanakh and other points in Chazal. But again, it's just a very unsophisticated way of thinking. It's just mamash, a lowly way of thinking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the most loving and the most supportive. And we have to find our way out to come to that. And that's why, for example, we spoke about in our fundamental beliefs through our Derech of Avodah, our fundamental beliefs, the three fundamental beliefs. Hashem created a beautiful world and wants us to live a beautiful life in His beautiful world, based on a medrash in Vayikra Rabbah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is good. How much do we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's good, and how much do we believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to support us? Hashem helps us. Gemara and Makkos and other places. And the third belief is, how much do you believe in your own good? And how much do you believe that you have the power, the creativity to live the life that you want? Three fundamental beliefs. And Rabbi Singer would say, the quality of your life is dependent on these beliefs. How much you believe in your own good, that you can create the life that you want. How much you believe in Hashem's goodness and that you believe Hashem wants to support you. And how much you believe Hashem created a very, very good world and wants us to live a beautiful life in this beautiful world. How much do you believe that? And if you have blockages, and what are the friends? What are the few friends, the Chavraya Kedisha, who are going to push back? Cynicism, skepticism, criticism, etc., etc. They'll push back. No, you don't deserve it. This and that. But again, if you have good mentorship and you have good friends around you, you'll find your way through the noise. You'll find your way through all the polluted thinking. But this derech, nationally, individually, is to find our way out of the noise that potentially we have bought into, that we hold is real. The polluted thinking that we hold is real. The polluted feelings that we hold as real. And what we want is to recognize at least Hachnan Havdalah, that there's a nefesh, there's a neshama, there's a ruach, Hachnan Havdalah, and I can pull back from my nefesh. And I can be a baldas, I can shift into a state which is beyond the intellect. It's beyond the intellect. And sometimes, like in this Beis HaMedrash, the derech of Avodah is for sure mechabed the intellect, mechabed the seichel. You hear some systems, bittul, being poshet means no thinking. This is not true. I heard one time a Breslover who was about Shuvi said, critical thinking is no good. I don't know what the whole taich was, what he was trying to explain. But Tamimus, Shita, yeah, it's like it's anti. It's not anti. Rebbe Nachman, what Mamash Amkus. Is oimek. You have to think, critically thinking, but you have to know the distinction between what the mind can grasp and what the mind can't grasp. And it's not easy. It isn't easy. It's a challenge. And we're now going to read through some words.
Can I have some clarifications before?
One second. We will. We're going to read words now in this paragraph. We're not going to finish the whole paragraph, but we're going to read words in this paragraph that may challenge us a little bit, and it may be confusing a little bit, and that's okay. That's okay. And where we are so far, and then we'll take some questions. Where we are so far, we spoke about in the first chapter, attuning, that there is a derech, there's a derech beyond what we potentially hold as normal, that we potentially hold as self. There's a derech, and we try to go in a rational way. Again, this is my journey. This is my subjective journey, and what I've tried to do here in this kuntrus is, with the help of glorious editors, try to create a language where it's not just my subjective journey, but it could be our subjective journey if it's helpful. And I say that with trepidation because I never want to create an entanglement. The worst thing I want is my wife once said, it's because you don't want to deal with people's issues. Yeah, it's probably MS as well. It's like you deal with your own issues. But the nakuda is that we try to create a logical and sequential journey to show what we are not, to invite you into a place of what you are. But that place of what you are is very elusive. Das is an odd experience, especially if we're so entangled. And going beneath is that line, and we broke it down, and then our inheritance is Das. And this nakuda of Das is a word that we are sharing, and we can speak around it, not to it. And it's not easy. And I get it's not easy. And whether it's unfair or fair that we're reading a text that we're just going to hear the words on the page, it could be. It could be you'll have tiners against me. How can you read something and then not, we're not there yet? And I get that. And I appreciate it, and I'm machabed it. Nothing to say against it, I validate it. But the point is that we want to go further in the text, and we want to go further in these fundamental conversations, with hakdamas to the conversation, with the reading of the text. Some things we will get more, some things we won't get more. And that's okay. That's okay, because it's a journey. And as we said, commitment doesn't lie. Turning up doesn't lie. Doesn't lie. You turn up every single time in whatever way you turn up. You hear these messages from many different angles. You can work on a project. There's one person here. I'm going to go out on a limb and he'll correct me if I'm wrong. But what I would suggest is this project that this person is working on is creating little videos with animations, and he puts it out on the machines, on the YouTube, on the WhatsApp, whatever it's called. And I believe that for him himself, he probably is getting the information a little bit clearer, having to communicate it. Is that an MS?
Yes.
That's it. That's not to do with me. That's not to do with me. As we've said before, there's only one person you have to prove this to, and that's yourself. You have to prove this. Your Avodas Hashem, you have to prove to yourself. Whatever derech you choose, you have to prove it to yourself. And how well, what's the metric? And I think like this because I need to prove it to myself. I'm egocentric. Mamash, I have a big gaiva, I want to blame everybody, I want to do the aveirus, I want kina, taiva and kavod. And I know that's not good. So I have to constantly work. Why is it worth it for me to do this? I have to prove it to myself. Proving it to yourself equates that there's no blame, there's no kina, taiva or kavod. Proving it to yourself is that there's what we call an escape velocity, and there's a gravitational pull. A gravitational pull is that there are forces that will hold you to the ego self. There are forces that are going to hold you to your nefesh bahami, to kina, taiva and kavod. There are forces that are going to hold you to a world where you feel the only way you can protect yourself is by blaming. But then there's escape velocity. Escape velocity is breaking free and being b'devekus, being completely and utterly in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah, no matter what you are faced with. So your escape velocity has to be so compelling. It has to be so compelling, and it takes work. You have to prove it to yourself. And it's not easy. I'm telling you from the beginning it's not. Not everyone will get this. Not everybody will get this. The derech of Avodah that was laid forth for thousands of years already takes amelus. Rabbi Belsky, one of my beautiful teachers, Talmud of Rav Hutner, and the author of Citadel and Tower, which is a work, mamash, written Baruch HaKodesh. I once gave it to a tzaddik. He spoke only Hebrew, didn't read any English. He still doesn't, but he held the sefer. He says, HaSefer Hazeh was written with Ruach HaKodesh. Constantly, he would say that how do you know if you're doing well? You don't have to blame anyone. Blame anybody. You've got nothing to say against anybody else. Moshe Rabbeinu, we were saying before, Moshe Rabbeinu, he was sent by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he jolly well knows, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, I hardened his heart. Because Moshe Rabbeinu has his cheshbon, Hashem Yisbarach has his cheshbon. And sometimes the cheshbonos don't meet, and it's okay. And Moshe Rabbeinu still went in, knowing fully well that he was going to fail at his job. Radical responsibility, a maturity. And that's where we are today. And as we listen to these words, Be'ezras Hashem, we'll try to just listen to the words, kipshutai, nothing more than that. Let the words absorb, let them wash over you, and whatever you get, you get. You can't go wrong. You are beautiful as you are. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing, you can't get anything wrong. You've passed, you've got 100% already. So as we hear these words, just chap that. So before we go into the text, let's, any questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
two clarification questions. One of the things you mentioned was Einig and Simcha are high vibrational frequency. So living the Abrahamic vision with Einig and Simcha but the question is, what's the value of high vibrational frequency? Like, what's the difference? That's one question. Should I ask the second question or wait?
Let me reflect on that for a moment. So what's the difference between a high vibrational frequency and a lower vibrational frequency? So a lower vibrational frequency is an akuda of gaiva. It keeps us separated. A lower vibrational frequency is not good for other people to see. Both. Anger, lusts, jealousy, bad midos hurt us, and it hurts the people around us. It's a heavier frequency, and it separates us. The more you move up from the nefesh to the ruach, and from the ruach to the neshama, so what starts to happen is that you gift not just yourself an incredible health, you gift others that as well. Higher vibrational frequency will pierce through all the noise. So when somebody is basimcha, when somebody is conscientious, and somebody is working on being more loving, which we can attain, we have a derech to do it. It's not elusive. The experience not always is easy, but learning the material that we're learning, you yourself, have you found, you're a witness to this, again, it's you, not me. Have you found that maybe you've had moments of change?
Sure.
That's it. And that helps not just you, it helps the wife, the husband, it helps the children, it helps the chaverim around you. And as well, it's Megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the Pilsner Rav would say, if you take somebody and they're miserable so-and-so, who wants to be around them? But Rabbi Singer, the Pilsner Rav, Simcha la'eis la'eis, Simcha la'eis la'eis. Rav Levi Yitzchak Bedichvei, Mamish, he was a Talmud of Rav Levi Yitzchak, the Nakuda, Simcha la'eis la'eis, happiness, joy from moment to moment. That's not suppressing what you're feeling. Sometimes we feel horrible, sometimes we feel icky, so you validate it and respect it. But what we want more and more, by learning this derech, by learning what we're learning, it seems to be, again, no concrete. Every experience, I'm not setting up, hopefully, anyone for failure. I'm trying my best not to set up anyone for failure, creating equations. No equations. There's equation of the study, of the intellectual capacity of understanding the architecture. But it seems to be, with the language we are using, that hopefully could soak into the experience, when we are living by higher vibrational frequencies of Ava and Yira and Echad, whatever these mean, and each one needs its own biru. When you're living with Das, which is tolerance, which is Hishtavus, it seems to be your life improves and the lives of the ones around you improve. And they may not get it straight away. I always refer to parenting, that you can have Baalei Avodah as parents, really working on chesed, really working Ava, Mechabed, and the children just, like, you see them in real time, don't get it. But don't give up, because eventually they do get it. They're absorbing everything. And sometimes you have wonderful girls like you who get it. Baruch Hashem, you have people who are conscientious, who are thinking, and they're 13 years old, 12, 13, 14 years old. They have this maturity already. They can ask their own questions. That's because of amazing parenting and amazing shalom bayis. Nachon? Special. So this nakuda is very important. So does that help in a long-winded answer? And again, I'm not here to give right now short-winded answers, because I've got the liberty to do this. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I was asking, I'm not asking for a response for this. I was asking more on a scientific level. But this definitely was helped. It definitely helped. My second question is, you mentioned the importance of critical thinking. How much we value it and how the importance of critical thinking. Does a person need to be smart for that?
No.
Let's say I don't feel very smart.
No. This is as well this is a golus thinking. I believe today, and again, anything I'm saying, challenge. Don't take anything I'm saying for granted. Don't believe me. Really, really, really don't believe me. I'm sharing. Think about it for yourself. Speak about it with your friends. Don't obviously walk away, Baal Gaiva, wrong or right. No, I'm asking people to have anava and shiflus and speak things through. Do the birur. But my observation, and I would say even from my life, that if somebody would say, am I technically smart? Well, what's the definition of smart? So if you, for example, put a mathematical equation in front of me, like, it'll make me cry. It'll make me cry, like break down. Is that considered smart? What actually is the definition of smart? And I think that we've
Mathematics is not such a good example.
I'm just giving an example. Is it technically, is a doctor smart? Or does a doctor have good memory and they could learn a lot of things and they have a bissel seichel?
Oh, the doctor's smart.
I don't know if that's necessarily, like when you really look at it, I don't know.
Making connections.
Can I tell you something? But making connections, but is that smart? That's what I'm asking. What's the definition of smart? I don't know. I don't know if our definition of cultural smart is actually what smart is defined by Rabbeinu Shalom in living a good, healthy life.
What's critical thinking?
Critical thinking on any level is something that everybody has, where you can guide somebody, you can ask a question, and you can be very, very, very patient, and you can see what they think. You can have a conversation, a dialogue. And I think part of the challenge that we face today in education is that we have been led, and maybe we could even be leading the next generation for, on a certain respect, failure. And I'll tell you, lemashal, if it's from a secular world, you can get exams, you can have exams and get good marks on your exams. But then there's another side to the coin. Is the person happy or not? It would be nice to get good marks on your exams and feel happy. Is a person in healthy relationship or not? So I think that our definition of smart needs to be examined. And what I would say is pretty much every single person has the Torah definition of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu intends, if they are guided in the right way. Doesn't mean knowing every Gemara, Tosfos, and Shas. I know people who are Iluim. I'm not impressed by people who know a lot of Torah. I'm not impressed. I've seen it. I've grown up in a family. I had a great uncle. He could tell you every Gemara, Tosfos, and Shas. My great-grandfather could do the pin test. He used to gather the kids together, and he would take my great-grandmother's hairpin, which I have over here, and he would stick it in the Gemara. And I have one of the Gemaras, Gemara Shabbos, where there's holes in the Gemara, where he would say to the children, what's this word and what's every word under it in the Gemara. So, Gemara Shabbos. So my great uncle, Reb Chaim Solomon, who as well, he was an unbelievable Ilui. So I remember, this is why I've got the Gemara Shabbos. I've got the rest of the Shas. I've actually put it away because I had a flood, but I kept it out purposefully. Purposefully I kept it out. And what it was, in the corner of the page, you have a pin. You have holes. And why? The story is, my great uncle said when he was about 5, his father said, "No, can you do it?" He says, Tati, I can do this. Daddy, I can do this. And he put it in the page number. And he says, I can tell you every word. I can tell you Gemara Shabbos, Beis Amid Aleph, Beis Amid Beis, Gimel Amid Aleph, Gimel Amid Beis. I grew up with people who were geniuses, and I saw a lot of people who were failures in life. No good shalom bayis, couldn't hold it together. But I saw people like my great uncle who really worked hard on avodah. Good husband, didn't have it easy. Good father, didn't have it easy. He worked, and I saw other people who really, they were wholesome people. So we have to define what smart is. But what we're speaking about, critical thinking, this is critical thinking. And it takes time. It's a muscle that needs to be flexed, and it takes time.
The example that you gave was Rav Nachman. And so someone goes through the Kutim Aram, the way Rav Nachman puts together Kol Torah Kula in every word I understand that to be critical thinking.
Correct.
But if
So-
somebody's not smart and can't do that, then
But you
they're-
can, again, everyone can do something. So you have to find what works for you. You have to find what works for you. And give that room to find what works for you.
Yeah, but what works for me doesn't mean I'm pushing myself in critical thinking. It could just be that, okay, if I listen to me, that's great.
Okay, are you like what are we? Let me just stop for a moment. Are we getting lost in something here?
Right now?
Yeah, are we getting lost in something? Is this helpful? All I'm saying is that what we need to do is think and push ourselves. That's it, kupshutai. And there's different definitions of smart. So again, a person could learn Lakutei Maran and get what they get on whatever level. And that's all we're speaking about. And everyone can do that on whatever level. Am I speaking against what you're saying, or are we speaking on...
After I haven't heard it.
Pardon?
We could speak about it after.
Okay, but I'm saying for now though, all I'm saying is you're right.
What I'm hearing is what's the definition of smart? We don't. At first, each person needs to think for themselves. What's the definition of smart? We don't really know.
Or there is a definition, but I'm saying that in regards to critical thinking, all I'm saying, Kapshuta, and I think I'm agreeing with you, do what you can do. That's it. Critical thinking, mitzad the makabel, do what you can do. That's it. And whatever level that is, but that's not necessarily the totality of life, as we're going to explain. That's not the totality of life. But we do have to speak and share in order to build out other areas of life. And we have to have your input. Your input is incredibly valuable. Your input, for sure. I remember in Shiur, in Gateshead, one of my teachers in Gateshead, Rabbi Yaakov Abinson, so I remember there was a couple of Bali Tshuva in the yeshiva, and one of them did, I think, painting, and another one did music. And there were certain times where he bedafka called upon them because, for sure, they had a knech because of their life experiences that he did not have. So everyone is different, but everyone needs to deliberately think to the best of their ability. And all I'm suggesting is that it's a muscle that can be trained, and we have to be careful using words and how we define words. And maybe our definition of words are not wholesome enough to include everybody. So critical thinking, everyone can do on whatever level. So if critical thinking for you then accents, doctor, lawyer, accountant, ga'oin, godel, I'm not saying that. That's why I brought this up. Okay. Page 18. The intellect cannot grasp godliness. The das state is always available and natural to us, but it does not require deliberate pursuit to experience it in our lives. Various meditations, contemplations, practices, breathing techniques, and mantras can help lead a person to this place. Even through conversation, a person can be guided to this state of being. It is a natural place for us to be, and it takes intention, but not necessarily, I'm adding in the word necessarily, but not necessarily exertion, not necessarily exertion to arrive. Like a child doing hard work and using tools to seek the watch that we spoke about last week, trying vigorously to enter a state will more likely hinder than help you. This is a very important feature that is often overlooked. It's not difficult, it is different. It is neither mystical nor logical. I just want to stop there for a minute because, as we said, this is an introduction to an experience that we may not experientially get right now. And again, the nakuda here is not to lead people to an equation that they will fail. What's
the definition of das here?
Awareness. We're going to go into it. We're awareness, and it's the silence. We're now adding a new darga. It's the silence, the place of silence. And I want to add, I would like to add, I didn't add this last week, I'd like to add another moshel. Last week we spoke about the watch. And the nakuda of the watch is that there was an individual who lost his grandfather's watch, and the children passing, they came in to the barn that was just cleaned. the barn that was cleaned. And the children came in and they made a big mess. And why? Because while this farmer was cleaning his barn, he lost his watch. The children came in and they're looking and looking, they didn't find the watch. One kid stands at the end of the day and says, "Mister, let me go in and get the watch. Let me go in and I don't need any more chocolate," because he gave chocolate. And the man said, "I don't have any more chocolates." He says, "It doesn't matter. Let me just go in." So this kid goes inside and he comes out 10 minutes later with the watch. And the man looks perplexed. "How did you find the watch? Like, what's pshat? You had 10 guys here looking for this watch. What's pshat?" He says, "I went to the middle of the room and I fell to my knees. And it was just an instinct, and I listened. And all of a sudden, I heard a tick-tock, and I followed the tick-tock, and I put my hand in a bale of hay, and I rummaged around, and I found your watch." There's another nakuda here, which is an important moshel, that I believe it was Rabbi Singer. I think it was Rabbi Singer. I've got it written down who it's from. And the moshel is as following, that once upon a time, there was a young man, and a young man lost his father. And this young man received a Yerusha, and the young man who received this Yerusha was told where the treasure chest was. It was in a pond, it was in a stream, in a pond, whatever it was, let's say a pond, and it's at the bottom of the pond. But there was whatever in the pond, there were not piranhas, but there was leeches, whatever there is. There was something not good. A snake lived in the pond, whatever it is, and if he put his hand in the pond, he would have got bitten. Okay, tachlis. And the young man goes to the pond with a stick, and he's trying to get. Actually, the treasure chest is by his side. The code for the treasure chest is on a stone at the bottom of this pond. It's on a stone at the bottom of this pond. The treasure chest is with him. So he comes along and he brings his treasure chest, puts it down, takes a stick, and he's trying to get the stone from the bottom of this pond to see the numbers, to open up the treasure chest. But all that keeps on happening is that the dirt, the sediment at the bottom of the pond comes and makes cloudy the pond, and now he can't see where the stone is, and for sure he can't see the numbers. An old man comes along and taps him on the shoulder, and he says, "Mister, what's going on here?" So he tells, "Listen, my father died a few months ago. He left me this treasure chest, and there's the numbers to open up the code, and then the bottom of the pond on a stone, and I've got this big stick, and I'm trying to get the stone, and every single time I'm trying to get the stone, the sediment is just going up into the pond, and I can't see it. It becomes all cloudy." So the older man says, "Come sit with me. Tell me about your father. Come and sit with me and tell me about your father." So he goes over 1 hour, 2 hours, and he tells him about his father, and he tells him about the good man that he was, and stories. And after about 2 hours, this older man says, "Come, let's go back over to the pond." And the young man picks up the stick, and he says, "No, don't pick up the stick. Just come over to the pond." Comes over to the pond. And he's walking to the pond and says, "But how will I get the stick? I need the stick to get the... how am I going to get the stick? How am I going to get the... Shh. Goes over to the pond, and the man says, "Look in." And by this time, all the sediment has settled. All the sediment has settled, and the pond becomes very clear because all the sediment settled. And he looks in, and he could see the numbers on the stone very clearly. But that's the nature at times of our lives, that we have all the answers. We just have to settle. And sometimes the mind gets in the way. Sometimes our cognitive thinking, which again, from the journey begins, our hirhurim, regesh, rigshe, gufani, get in the way. But the pond is there, the sediment is there, and if we learn to experience what we call menuchas hanefesh to the best of our ability, and yishuv hadas, the insight, the neshama always has the answers. The old man is always there. So this nakuda, again, it's not necessarily mystical or logical, and sometimes language can get in the way. And we're speaking beyond language, and it's not easy. It isn't easy what we're speaking about, especially if we have never heard this before. It could be very foreign to us. Let me change the language. Once we start really just listening, it resonates. Once we start listening, it is easy. It's straightforward, and it is easy. So here's an analogy that may help us illustrate this. If you imagine strong high waves, they could be noisy, even frightening. However, when one dives deep in the ocean, going 20 to 30 feet down, the waters become more calm, more and more still. Our superficial mind can be full of noise. Hirhurim, regesh, rikshe gufani. As it says, Rabbis machshavos belev ish in Mishlei 19:21. Yet, when we go inside, letting go of the surface turbulence and meeting stillness and silence, Hashem's guidance is constantly there, an ineffable axis to tether us. Veitzat Hashem hi takum. That the Eitz of Hashem is always there. It's always there. It's always present. Let me ask you a question. Is this analogy true? Under the waves, you go, yeah?
There is a current, undercurrent it's called.
There, you do diving as well? You ever done diving?
Depends where you go, but the current
Yeah.
is different. The current isn't noisy.
But at the top, the mashal, at the top, it could be noisy. You go 20, 30 feet under.
Yeah. And the more
So-
down, the lower you go, it's true.
So now reverse that. The more we come out of the nefesh, which would be the top part, the more we come into a state of das, we can gift ourselves that. Again, it's all a matana from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all a matana from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'll say it again and again. The human experience is complex. To experience pain, suffering, or to experience anxiety and all the unpleasant noise within, whether thoughts, feelings, or physical sensation, I validated 1,000,000,000%. And we're adding that the architecture of the soul, the language that we are speaking, we could be guided into the possibility of moving out of that noise. And at the end of the day, it's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are charged to do the work. We have to do our hishtadlus. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses us, He blesses us. Remember the cheshbon. Remember Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu went, and Paro is his greatest fear, is his greatest anxiety, based on the Medrash Rabbah. And Hashem says, I'm going to make his hard hard. I'm going to make his heart hard. You're not going to succeed. That's because Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to do your hishtadlus. But I'm giving you a matana and a matana for the generations. Ich hab my hishtadlus. Hashem says, I've got my hishtadlus. I've got my avodah. And in a more immature state, we may think, oh, this is cruel. We may think, oh, it's Hashem's fault. No, we're being asked to take full radical responsibility. Hashkacha pratis. For the immature mind, it seems paradoxical, or not paradoxical, but cruel. To the more mature mind, it's a paradox, I can't answer it. Hashem made me do the Aveira. It's Hashem's fault. He made me do the Aveira because of Hashkacha pratis. But I, from a state of das, chapshat, I have to take full responsibility, bi'ava rabba, b'kavod rabba. Hashem, I am sorry, I have to do ma'al. I know it was you, but I understand that there's tikkunim here. I should not have done it. I know I'm going to get punished. I know that. What will get in the way of this truth? Our nefesh bahami, fears, insecurities, etc., etc. Radical responsibility. And it's very liberating. Truthfully, it's so liberating when we can turn around and we can constantly be in the presence of the Borei Olam. I'm constantly being held. It's a very, very real, deep nakuda. And we start to have the availability to cultivate holding. What is a paradox? I'm not going to get it. But I'm going to own it. And I could be vulnerable and truthful, especially if I've got good people around me. My teacher, the Biala Rebbe, knew all my Averis. Pilsner Rav knew all my Averis because I felt so comfortable. They gave me room to validate my own experience and to get it out. Just get it out of your system. And I had a forum to do that. That's what true friendship is. Let go. Let's reframe, become the hero of my story. Kedusha, Tahara, Eineg, Simcha Rabba in Hashem's way. Following the Shulchan Aruch to the best of my ability. None of these are contradictions. but we want to shift in to a perspective, a way of thinking that's not necessarily so common to us. Yes?
I definitely understand what I was saying when you talk about difficulty being on the level of noise and dropping like below it or above it, however you want to say, but like to a deeper place where there's more calm waters. But I also sometimes experience a situation where there's difficulty. It feels to me that there's difficulty in the deeper places, and I almost wish that there was surface noise about it, but there's not. There's not a good excuse, there's not a good reason, there's not a good surface level thing to latch onto and say it's because of this, there's just fear or pain or difficulty. And then it's almost like I'll look to noise for escape, because I don't know where to go lower than that. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's like the regular difficulty where like there's a circumstance in your life and you're like, oh, it's because of that, and you let all that noise be, and if you let all the difficulty be about the noise, and then like the work of moving beneath the noise and just being with the difficulty, I get that. But where I get stuck is like when sometimes there's a difficulty and there's not even any noise to attach to it. Like there's no circumstance or
What I'm hearing from you is again, please, if I'm misinterpreting, let me know. I just want to understand. What I'm hearing from you is that there's noise as in thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, and that can have its own difficulty, but then you can have an experience which, so to speak, is not connected to any of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations.
yeah.
So what I would respond back to you, and obviously it's a bigger conversation, is that in a state of das, there's no difficulty. The very simple fact you're saying the word difficulty, I'm reading that, I'm interpreting that in the system that we are sharing here, that's still coming from nefesh. You're still in nefesh. Because in the world of das, when you can in a healthy way completely let go, you don't experience that. So what I would say is that there still is, that's still coming from das.
Okay.
Now what does that sound like to you?
So that resonates, but I still don't know when I still don't know what the work is. How do you work through that?
Sometimes you're not working through it. Sometimes the work is just being with it. Sometimes the work, a storm, there's not a storm 24/7. The storm will pass. So there's an ebb and flow. Sometimes the work is not interfering. Sometimes the work, when you experience something, is just being patient with it and holding it and letting it pass. Does that give you something at least to work with in this question and answer right now?
Yeah.
Could it be that there's something a little bit deeper, like there's a noise, but it's a quieter noise and it's hidden a little bit deeper, and it just requires, not just, but it could require a little bit more.
Well, it depends. So let me reframe. Could it be there's noise? So let's refine our language. In the world of das, there's no noise. In the world of das, it's silent. Anytime we are speaking about the term noise, what we are suggesting here, whether good or not good noise, is coming from the nefesh bahami. What we can say, and tell me if this is speaking to what you are saying, that you have a more subconscious flow of thinking, which is still unconscious. It's thinking that comes out from nowhere. So it could be I'm davening, it could be I'm having a conversation with somebody, it could be I'm just trying to get something done on the computer, or I'm trying to learn and I'm bombarded with foreign thinking that I can hear. Now what we are saying is underneath that thinking, there's other thinking that you can't hear. There's other thinking, there's other feelings that you can't hear. And only when, and this is a very, very important nakuda, only when we are ready to hear that, the nefesh will share it with us. The nefesh always wants to protect us, save, to make us feel safe, secure, and certain. To make us feel safe, secure, and to feel an ease. That's what the nefesh wants. So it could be there's something really deep as a unconscious driver that I'm not aware of. If I'm not ready to hold it and cultivate it, it won't share it. That's why a person, when doing therapy, shlav by shlav, you have like, oh, wow, you could become aware of something. I wasn't aware of that 10 minutes ago. It's because your nefesh knew that you were now at a darga where it could reveal that deeper midah to you, that deeper pattern to you. So that's the process of growth. I remember Rabbi Moshe Shapiro would say very often that what is an epiphany, especially when you're being metaken your midos. And Rabbi Moshe Shapiro was very interesting. He wasn't necessarily about classical tikkun hamidos, but he was about cultivating das through conversation. And a lot of the time when you'd speak, and you'd speak a language of just learning to be vulnerable, developing your bitachon and emunah, and Hashem's holding you, b'deveikus. So you will have self-revelation and realization. You were ready to hear it. Does that speak to what you asked? You're ready to hear it. And the mind can't comprehend it. Sometimes, again, you will be shown something, and in the process of being shown something, you may not know what to do with it. I don't know where it's coming from. And right now, I'll give you one example. We know the Zohar tells us that there could be a tremendous darkness before the light. So I'm dealing with, I just had a conversation with her this morning, somebody I know, his wife, and his wife has started to do a lot of personal work, a lot of healing. She had traumas growing up, and for many years she didn't work and it affected her shalom bayis, and she started to do therapy. And I was speaking to him and her this morning, and it's crazy because right now she's completely and utterly dysfunctional. She's been doing the work and she's come to a stage right now completely and utterly dysfunctional. But mamash, she hated her husband. She hated her husband. Everything that her husband would do to try to support her and help her, she viewed as weakness, and she hated him. And the more she tried to help, the more he tried to help, the more he's doing everything right. What's happened? She's going through hell right now. She's completely dysfunctional as a wife, as a mother, even at work it's starting to affect. But she turns around, she says, I never seen my husband for. My husband is a knight. My husband's a king. And it's a peladik azach. We don't know how the healing happens. We don't know how the healing happens. She started this healing process, and what's come up in her consciousness is to see how much of a gibor her husband is. And whereas she thought her husband supporting is a sign of weakness, she realized her husband supporting what she's going through, he's mamash like, no normal person would put up with me. And she's come to this realization. And the healing's going to take place. She asked me, are you worried? I said, no, I'm not worried. I'm excited. I'm excited. This is an amazing sign. Your nefesh has come to a place where it's sharing with you. And yes, I'm validating, it's painful and uncomfortable, but the mind can't hold it. All you have to do right now is allow the support to support you and allow the process to happen. That alone was very therapeutic for her. She's in therapy, but that alone was very therapeutic. And again, what we try to do in order to feel safe, secure, and certain is we try to rationalize. We have the mind that tries to hold on, but sometimes the mind can't hold on. Sometimes we can wrap ourselves in the klipa and more klipa and more klipa of thinking. And we could even share this as critical thinking, and we can get stuck in the rabbit hole. And there's a maturity in knowing how to realizing Rabbi's machshavos belevish, which is the nefesh habahami, and behind that, behind the nefesh habahami is this deeper answer. If you allow it to be heard, it's always there. It's always there. I'm just conscious of the time. I want to go a little bit weiter. So if you have if it's a quick question, let me hear it. But please.
It's more of a response.
Please, so go. Yeah, a response.
I find that sometimes I think I'm in das, but I'm really just stuck in my thinking.
Yes. Sometimes we could think we are in das, but we're stuck
I'm
in
aware
our
of my physical
thinking.
sensations
Yeah.
and emotions, but really I'm still in my thoughts.
That's
Even
it.
though things have calmed down, it's still not calm. I
That's
still
it.
feel like I need to
Yeah.
relax.
And that's why habata, lahabit, that's why habata, the exercise of habata, is very simple. Seichel asks the question, ma ani choshev, then you go quiet and you non-judgmentally observe. And through that non-judgmental observation, if any thinking comes in apart from that, I know that it's nefesh. And it's a practice. It's a practice. I don't know if... no, I'm not doing that today. Open a can of worms. Maybe we'll look at this next week. We'll open the can of worms next week. No, there's more time for it. But tachlis, just you have das, and then in ruach you have das, you have machshava and dimyon. These are the tools that we have. And then we have tiferes, which is insight hasaga. And then we have fleeting thoughts, hod, netzach and yisod, fleeting thoughts, feelings and physical sensations. Das, when we can hachnan havdala, when we can quieten this, the nefesh bahami starts to become a vehicle that wants to help us. That's what Tikkun Hamidos is. And when we then understand that, in Habata, I'm just asking the question, ma ani choshev, and I non-judgmentally hold, I observe and hold and validate whatever comes up. And if other thinking comes in, I smile and say, look at that. Okay, let's get back to the question. But it's not to do with our classical intellect and thinking. And this is what we are sharing here. Throughout history, philosophers, academics, and scientists have tried to define, describe, and measure this quiet place, investigating such concepts as self or soul or consciousness and infinity, using a wide variety of intellectual techniques such as critical thinking, detachment, logic, and reasoning. They have uncovered various insights into the true essence of humanity. But the intellect cannot bring you to an experience of true self. It can only help define what the essential self is not, to then explore more of what it may be. A process called definition by negation. This is a useful tool that we can use to help us approach a state of das. By stripping away the layers of nefesh that obscure, see for example, reverse theology and the applications and definitions of definition by negation, as in Mar Nevuchim, in the first parak Nun Chet, and in Sefer Yetzirah, Shar Aleph, Anif Aleph, Drush Igulim V'Yashar, Drush Igulim V'Yashar. So the Mar Nevuchim and the Eitz Chaim both use this nakuda of what we can call reverse theology or definition by negation. However, like all roots, like all tools of intellect, it can only take us so far. Continuously revisiting the same unfathomable ideas with the intellect is like climbing an endless staircase. It may take you higher, but you'll never reach the actual goal. In fact, you run the risk of convincing yourself that since you've climbed so high, surely you must be closer to the infinity than others. Only when we will stop climbing, to stand still and listen to the void surrounding the staircase, can one experience that which is beyond the grasp of the intellect. So I think that's good for now. But we're going now, as I said, into this conversation which right now are words on pages. And I just want to reiterate, because I've had this before where people have felt, I can't get there. I can't get there. We're just starting a conversation. Have compassion on yourself. Have compassion. Avodas Hashem is a lifelong work. If we hear a new idea and it's the first time we're hearing a new idea, just listen to it. Don't take it seriously. Just know that it exists. Allow yourself to hear it once. Allow yourself to hear it once. And we will go into the next, the next part of this. And we'll see, we'll see it's your journey. Give yourself a break in regards to trying to get there. There's no there. There's just here, right now, in this sacred space. And for you just to listen. And as we finish up and we break up and share now, just to give your time, yourself, gifted time to process. What did you hear? What did you hear? What did you hear as a 13-year-old? What did you hear as a 50-year-old? What did you hear as a 60-year-old? What did you hear with the knowledge that you have right now in this moment? What did you hear? And you can't fail. You've only succeeded. And I'll add, if you want, when you walk out of this room, forget about this. Forget about it. When you finish this recording, if you've listened to this recording, forget what I've said. Forget what I've said. So Be'ezras Hashem, beautiful Chevra, we're going to now go into our sharing and Be'ezras Hashem online, wherever you are, and you don't have to do this. None of you have to do this. If you want though, just think about, close your eyes for a minute and just think about, what did I hear right now? What did I hear right now? What do I take away? What's one thing that resonated? Was it one thing I thought? Was it my, listening to the talk and my coffee spilt a little bit? Well, what's one thing that you take away with you? Maybe not the words that I've been speaking. Maybe the experience that you've had in the last however long. Maybe it was an interruption, I remember right now. Maybe I got fixated on something and I didn't hear a few of the words. Maybe that's it. Whatever it is, what do you remember right now? What do you walk away with right now? Spend a moment just to think about that. And then I will say for the people online, a bracha v'hatzlacha. And then we will break into our groups. So for half a minute, just stop for a minute. What comes up right now that you wish to walk away with? That spoke to you, that resonated with you? And Be'ezras Hashem, how can you better your life? And how can you better your environment? And how can you better the lives of the ones around you? Mamash bracha, mazel and hatzlacha, kol tov, kol yeshuas.